God made me and he loves me and he has this purpose for my life. I grew up in a church family. Dad was an army chaplain. That meant I moved around quite a lot. So when I was 10, my parents decided to send me to a boarding school. I changed very quickly from being quite a happy, confident child into quite an unhappy, anxious teenager. At the time, I don't think I really knew why I was anxious, and I felt actually very happy. I had really good friends. I did okay. My grades weren't the best, but they weren't the worst. But I did have alopecia, and my hair began to fall out down the centre part of my head. Actually, what it came down to was that I had a great amount of anxiety about feeling good enough, and that started when I went to the school. Because what I realised when I was away from my parents was that I wasn't very organised. I was always losing my stuff, not handing my homework in on time or not at all, turning up to lessons late because I couldn't find my books. And very quickly I was labelled by teachers as being disorganised. There was just a couple of teachers who really undid all of my self-worth at that time. And I remember one teacher in particular. I was at home over Easter and I'd worked really, really hard on this one piece of English coursework for my GCSEs. I was really confident, handed it in on time, and I'd put every bit of effort that I had into it. I was so excited to get it back. And then she handed it back and it hadn't been marked. And she said in front of the whole class, "I've not marked this because it's too good to be your work." And I, at that moment, just gave up. I just thought, nothing that I do is ever going to be good enough. I'm not worthy enough of anything. At that point, really my life changed because I'd grown up really believing that God had made me and he loved me and he had a purpose for me. I wanted to be a missionary. I wanted to go overseas and be this strong woman who stood up to dictators. And all of that went away really overnight until I was about 21 and we moved church because my mum at that point had got ordained and she was a priest. And I'd kind of given up on church a bit. I still believed in God, but I was living with my mum and she said, if you're going to live here rent-free, then you're going to come to church. So I went to church with her and I met really lovely people who loved me for being me, who didn't expect anything from me other than for me to be me. And I really started to find a new truth in that knowledge that I'd had when I was a child, that God had made me and he loved me and he had a purpose for me. And my life really began to change. I applied to go to university, came up to Lancaster when I was 23, found a great church in this city that really nourished my faith and helped me grow and challenged me actually to think about what God's purpose was for my life. And it took me a long time, but now I'm training to be a priest in the Church of England, which is not surprising apparently to anybody who's known me growing up, but really was a total surprise to me because I just didn't believe that I was worthy of doing that kind of job. Now I really know, I don't just know in my head, but I know in my heart that God made me and he loves me and he has this purpose for my life. And all I have to do is kind of obediently reach into that and he'll do the rest.